All right, good afternoon. My name is Ross Ritter. I'm chair of the Parks and Rec Commission, and it is March 18th, and I am calling to order the Parks and Rec Commission. To begin off, could we start with a roll call?
Okay, let the record show all commissioners are currently present.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. First off, I wanted to welcome our brand new Commissioner Kimball to the dais. Congratulations on your appointment, and we all look forward to working with you. Moving on, if you could please join me by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I see we have a special presentation today by Mr. Ryan Lemkin from the Climate Action Plan update. I had the good fortune of already hearing this presentation during the Senior Commission this afternoon, so I feel like after watching this second presentation that I'll be able to ace the quiz afterwards. Mr. Lemkin, would you go ahead and proceed?
Yes, thank you, and good evening, commissioners. My name is Ryan Lampkin. I'm the city's sustainability analyst, and I'm excited to present the draft Climate Action Plan update to the commission this evening. My presentation will include a brief background on the Climate Action Plan, the emissions inventory, projections, and targets being proposed for the CAP update, the emission reduction measures to achieve said targets, climate vulnerability and adaptation in Encinitas, implementing and monitoring the measures, and next steps for the CAP update. So starting with some background, what is a climate action plan? A climate action plan, or a CAP, is a comprehensive roadmap for addressing climate change through goals and measures that aim to reduce community-wide greenhouse gas emissions while supporting the city's broader sustainability goals. The city of Encinitas has had a CAP since 2011. It was updated in 2018. And in our 2018 CAP, we committed to an update every 5 years, which has been the main driver for updating the Climate Action Plan. Additionally, we're seeking to realign our priorities by identifying more robust greenhouse gas emission reduction measures. And there are several legislative drivers for the CAP update, with the most prevalent being AB 1279, which is the statewide carbon neutrality goal by 2045. And so with the need to update the Climate Action Plan, city staff released a request for proposals, selected a project consultant, and over the last year have worked to prepare the draft Climate Action Plan. And this is now available for public review, and you can find it on the city's website. And you can see all of the chapters that are outlined in the document on the right side of the screen. So now I'll go over Chapter 2, which is the greenhouse gas emissions inventory, projections, and proposed targets. The 2025 CAP update utilizes 2016 as the emissions baseline. So a baseline year is essentially what we're setting all of our targets against. And the inventory is a snapshot in time of the emissions that Encinitas' community-based activity emitted in that year. And so there were approximately 381,000 metric tons of carbon dioxide equivalent emitted throughout the city, with the largest sector being from on-road transportation. And the consultant also developed an emissions forecast to see, our emission scenario all the way out till 2050. And if you look at the top of this blue line, you'll see that emissions will gradually increase if nothing is done to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions. However, action is being taken by the federal government and state government. And so those emission reductions are accounted for in the blue and the red sections of this chart. And then if you look at the gray area, that is the remaining emissions where the city is seeking to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And so the 2018 cap had a 2020 and 2030 target, which is that green existing cap target. And for the 2025 cap, in alignment with state legislation, we're setting a 2030 and 2045 target. And so we're seeking to be 40% below the 2016 baseline by 2030 and 85% below the 2016 baseline by 2045. And so now that I've gone over the proposed targets, I'll discuss how we're actually going to get there. The Climate Action Plan identifies several high-level emission reduction strategies, and they're closely aligned with the sectors that are identified in the emissions inventory. And those include building decarbonization, which is seeing a citywide reduction in natural gas consumption, renewable energy, which seeks to increase the amount of renewable electricity that's powering homes in Encinitas, homes and buildings, water efficiency, which seeks to see a citywide reduction in water use, clean and efficient transportation, which would hope to see increased alternative modes of transportation and low zero carbon commuting. Zero emission equipment includes restricting and limiting the use of gas-powered landscape equipment. Zero waste deals with increasing recycling and organics waste diversion programs. And carbon sequestration would seek to see more trees planted throughout the city. And so under all of the emission reduction strategies are the greenhouse gas reduction measures, or measures for short. And so these are more specific actions that the city would take to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. And for the purposes of the Parks and Recreation Commission, I'll highlight some measures that would potentially be relevant to parks. And so that would include MWE1, which is converting city-owned landscape to drought-tolerant or native species. And so this would see a 5% conversion of landscaping and parks in the public right-of-way to drought-tolerant or native by 2030 and 15% by 2045. Additionally, many of the carbon sequestration measures relate to our parks, particularly MCS1, which is to plant and maintain city trees. And so when you go through the Climate Action Plan document, all of the emission reduction measures have a quantifiable greenhouse gas reduction potential by 2030 and 2045. And if we successfully implement those, all 32 measures and 7 strategies, and that reduction potential is fully realized, you'll see that we are in fact meeting the 2030 and 2045 targets that we've set out. And so now that I've gone over how we plan to achieve our targets, I'll talk about why the Climate Action Plan is important through the lens of Encinitas' climate vulnerability and risk. And so the Climate Action Plan update utilizes the Climate Vulnerability Assessment and Adaptation Framework, which was completed in 2023 for the Safety Element Update, as this is the most currently available study and data that we have. And this chapter particularly, looks at climate vulnerability through the lens of safety. And since this is in the safety element, we felt it was a good resource for us to point to. And so in that assessment, it found that by the end of the century, Encinitas could see increased temperature, more irregular precipitation patterns, extreme heat events and heat waves, drought events, increased wildfire risk, flooding, sea level rise and bluff erosion, and landslide and liquefaction throughout the city. And there are being actions taken currently to adapt to some of these risks that exist. And so that includes our multi-jurisdictional hazard mitigation plan, the water district's conservation efforts, the coastal zone management projects we have, such as Cardiff Living Shoreline Project and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers project. But if the projections that are realized in the study and the these climatic risks actually manifest, there would be more need to adapt to those risks. And so the Climate Action Plan is reaffirming the adaptive actions that were recommended and approved in the Climate Vulnerability Assessment and Adaptation Framework. And so now I'll go over implementing the climate action plan. There are several key components to successfully implement the CAP, and that includes administration and staffing. The sustainability division cannot solely implement the CAP, and so many, if not all, city departments would play a role in implementing the climate action plan. Financing and budgeting the CAP is of course, extremely important. Implementing all of the measures and monitoring and reporting to the public on the status of measure implementation. And as a community-wide climate action plan, public participation is extremely important as well. And so now I'll go over next steps, and following on the heels of the financing and budgeting component of implementation, staff is currently working to complete the implementation cost analysis, which will be available for review by the final version of the draft document. We're currently holding our final public comment period now through April 11th. The final workshop is planned for April 8th. We're seeking input from all the city commissions now and April. And April 16th, we will be taking the draft CAP to City Council. And then from there, we'll take all the comment we received and consider incorporation into the final document. And then we'll take the final document back to Environmental Commission on May 8th to seek their recommendation for council adoption. And tentatively on May 28th is when we would see City Council adoption of the document. And that concludes my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lampkin. It is actually better the second time. Thank you. I do have just a couple questions, and then I would certainly open it up to the commission to follow up with additional questions. So obviously the big movers are changes that we can make in transportation, electricity, and natural gas. So if we're going to really do anything, those are the big things that we would be looking at. When we consider I-5 that basically goes right through our city, when we consider the impact that the highway transportation on I-5 impacts our climate action plan, is any type of adjustment kind of in that section that was blue for the federal and California vehicle standards, is that where that's accommodated? And does those emissions get counted towards kind of our gross emissions as a city?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. The vehicle miles traveled, or VMT modeling that we use to calculate greenhouse gas emissions from transportation only accounts for trips that either begin or terminate in Encinitas. So if it's a pass-through trip, such as going through the 5 from like San Diego to LA, and they don't actually stop in Encinitas, the vehicle miles traveled modeling wouldn't capture that, and so that wouldn't be included in our greenhouse gas inventory.
So then again, when we think of 58% of that total pie, that anything that we do from a mobility standpoint of getting people into walking, into using electric vehicles, into bicycling, is going to have a major impact with regards to what we can do to bring that number down and reach our targets for 2030 and 2045.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Great information. I would say the only other component is that on your slide was this option for commissions to provide feedback. We're a Parks and Recreation Commission. You did point out a couple things in particular that our kind of realm could do to help in this area. So I would just say to the commission, if it's so interested, it's not on our work plan, but if it does interest you in this particular topic, this is on the website, on the city website, if you want to read through it. And if you wanted to provide any feedback next month during the commission meeting, we can certainly discuss it, and then we can share that that information with the sustainability department. Any other questions or comments from the rest of the commission? Please.
I don't have a question. I was just hoping we could see that slide again with the little action items. Thanks.
So I think the first one was under Strategy 3, which is the last one, was on the left side, MWE, convert the city-owned landscape to drought-tolerant or native species. For our responsibility as a parks organization, the city looks at our department for anything that has irrigation. So anything that doesn't have irrigation actually falls to Public Works. Is that still correct, Manager Norgard?
That's within the right-of-way. Our open spaces are not irrigated, but those fall to parks.
Thank you. I think another place that you had mentioned was under the Strategy 7 carbon, or was it Strategy 7?
Yeah,
carbon
that's correct. It would be
sequestration?
Strategy 7 MCS1.
And then to a certain respect, MCS1 as well, plant and maintain city trees. I know we're pretty active that if we end up having to remove trees due to disease because of the canary palms all dying or just trees in general dying, I know our department's really on it to get new trees planted in their place. Obviously, it takes a while to replace a mature tree, but it's better to get it started now than later.
And if I may add, you might be interested in Strategy 5 as well, since it relates to the landscape equipment that's used to maintain the parks. So right now, we do have a limitation on leaf blowers. Electric-only leaf blowers are currently allowed in the city, and then we'd be looking at limiting the use of gas-powered other landscape equipment as well, so like mowers and such.
And is the city still offering any type of incentives for the transition from gas to electric for those type of devices? Or is that program done now?
Yeah, the gas-powered leaf blower incentive isn't available anymore, but the ZE2 limiting all gas-powered landscape equipment, in the cap you can read that this program, or excuse me, ordinance wouldn't begin until 2030. And so at that time, once we adopt such an ordinance, we would offer incentives to help people transition from gas-powered to electric landscape equipment.
So that would be 5 years from now.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? I think Commissioner Kimball, you had a question?
I did, thank you. Could you bring up the slide that showed the, maybe it's your third slide in, that showed the graph with the goals with the red and the blue banding on it?
Yeah, this one or the earlier slide?
The earlier slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, that one. I wanted to make sure that I understood what it was representing. We show the potential 2045 target and 2030 target. And if I'm reading the graph correctly, are we setting targets that are lower than what would be targets per California or federal law?
Yeah, so the SB 32, which is one of the legislative drivers, that's to be 30% below, it's a statewide goal, or law, to be 30% below 1990 levels by 2030. And so we're proposing to be 40% below 2016 levels by 2030, so we're exceeding that. And then as far as AB 1279, that's the statewide carbon neutrality goal, and it's written as reducing 85% of anthropogenic emissions. So that means all human-caused emissions we would reduce, and to close that 15% of remaining emissions for just really hard to decarbonize things. We would do things like carbon capture or rely on, carbon sequestration from trees and natural lands. So it is in alignment with both of those laws.
It's in alignment, or it's more drastic than those laws? From the graph, I just couldn't quite tell, so.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from the graph, if I could add, but it is equivalent to what the state guidelines
Okay,
are. So,
all right.
Yeah, so it's confusing because the red and the blue, which represents the state and the federal actions, don't actually meet their own targets, if that makes sense. So
That makes the graph a lot more
Yeah.
sense then, yes.
yeah, so they are asking, or it is implied that there is an expectation that local governments pick up the slack and do our part to also reduce emissions to meet that ultimate state target.
Okay. And then with all the strategies that you showed in the other slide that you were showing earlier, do we, maybe I'll read it in the report that you have posted, but is there a forecast as to which one of those items will actually have how much impact towards those goals? Because like as Commissioner Ritter mentioned earlier, like the the vehicle is obviously a huge one, but do we have a sense of what the big hitters are and which ones have the most investment return?
Yeah, so that would be this slide here. So it's actually building decarbonization, which we see the most emissions reduction by 2045, but I actually don't know off the top of my head because, so if you could kind of see how the line starts to get a lot larger by 2045, I don't know. And then clean and efficient transportation, the green line is kind of more spread out, right? So that might have a larger emissions reduction over the years, but those two are definitely the largest emission reduction strategies.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And all those numbers are calculated and in the climate action plan. So every measure has an estimated emissions reduction value for the year 2030 and 2045.
And then I know that there was a proposal to ban gas appliances in homes, and that met with a little resistance as well as a lawsuit in California. I'm curious whether that's been resolved and whether we are back to banning natural gas for new home construction and perhaps for commercial as well, or are we still in a wait and see?
Yeah, that lawsuit went forward, and the Ninth Circuit found that by restricting the use of gas-powered appliances, that wasn't legal, essentially. So we had to rescind our ordinance that stated that new residential and non-residential buildings had to be all electric. But we've since then introduced another ordinance which is legally sound and incentivizes without requiring buildings to be all electric, essentially. So.
Great, thank you. I would say that we switched over to a induction cooktop, and it is like the best change we've done. It is just fantastic. And we used to have a gas, and I'd have to deal with cleaning those burners, and now it's just wipe it right off, and it's done. So I think once people start using those, they'll be really impressed with what a quality of life it is to have it. Much like driving an electric vehicle. So, great. Well, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I noticed that, and we are a coastal community, so it's good to see water and water quality on the list here. But I'm having a hard time connecting the dots to water quality and greenhouse gas control. Can you help me out?
Yeah, so this is more about water efficiency and using our water more wisely and conserving water where we can. So this plan is less concerned about the quality of our water, more so how much of it we're using. And so the reason that this plan is concerned with conserving water is because when you pump water from the plant and to treat the water, the energy that's consumed to pump it is generating emissions. So.
And a great presentation, by the way. And one other question, so we talk about zero waste, and I know recently we've started doing the composting in our green trash bins, where does that have the risk to actually add to greenhouse gases by doing this composting because it releases methane, or is that factored in here somewhere?
Yeah, so the idea is instead of having the organic waste going to the landfill where it's then able to be released into the atmosphere and the methane from that organic waste is released, it's when you put it into the green bin, it goes to the waste facilities where they can actually capture all of that methane gas instead of it being released into the atmosphere.
Very cool, thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for a very informative presentation. You were quick on your feet and were able to answer some great questions from the commission. Thank you for all those commissioners that participated and provided some additional input. I certainly appreciate the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's move on to oral communications. Looking out on the audience, I think it's probably somewhat limited. Mr. Fisher, do we have any oral communications?
There are no public speakers tonight.
All right, thank you very much. How about any changes to the agenda?
And there are no changes to the posted agenda.
Fantastic. All right, let's move on to approval of minutes from our February 18th meeting. Are there any questions or comments regarding that particular meeting that were not captured in the minutes? All right, so I'd like to make a motion to approve the February 18th meeting minutes. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay, the minutes are approved.
Thank you very much.
Point of order. We have 7 commissioners and 2 weren't here to approve the minutes.
Thank you very much for bringing that point up. I agree with you. So I would say, first of all, in Commissioner Kimball's position, I know that she's reviewed the that commission meeting. However, she wasn't present in it. What would be the situation in that particular?
If they viewed the meeting and they watched the whole thing, then they can vote too.
Even though she wasn't seated on the commission at that time? Okay. And then the person that was absent, did you end up looking at it? Or who was absent? Nobody was absent. Oh, you,
No, I'm sorry.
Commissioner
I was
Hanson.
absent at the meeting before, so
Oh, okay.
I withdraw that.
I did watch the last meeting.
Fantastic. All right, so she's jumping in feet first, and she's done her homework, so that's fantastic. Thank you. All right, so we are good on the approval of the minutes then. Let's move on to the action items. Our first one is to go ahead and nominate and elect a chair and vice chair for this new work plan year that starts this month. We'd like to go ahead and do this process like they do the deputy mayor. Basically, I would like to open the floor up for each of the positions. We'll start with the chair first, and then we'll follow with the vice chair. Anyone can nominate themselves or someone else for each position. Then what we'll do is, if there is only one person that comes forward, then we'll go ahead and vote, or we'll go through the motion process, then we will vote for that position, and then move on to the second position. If there are multiple people that are interested, we'll have some discussion, and we'll work on finalizing a candidate, and then we'll vote like we were discussing earlier. I would just like to say real quick, when you take a look at the document as an overview, commissioners may nominate, and it kind of goes over what I've just said, either themselves for chairperson or vice chairperson for the 2025-26 year. The chairperson presides over monthly meetings, is available an hour before each meeting to review an agenda with staff liaison, which is normally Manager Norgard, and represents the commission at various city functions or other duties as assigned. And then the vice chairperson provides the backup for the chair when applicable, and it's important that the chair and vice chair attend all commission meetings, or as many as absolutely possible, or at least make some arrangements if one can't can attend to make sure that the vice chair is available. So at this point, working on action item number 8A, I am looking to the commission for any nominations for the position of chair.
I'd like to nominate our current chair.
Second.
Well, thank you very much for that vote of confidence in my past years of leadership. You guys jumped in pretty quick there. Thank you. Are there any other interested parties or other nominees? All right, so we have a motion on the floor. The motion was first stated by Commissioner Cormorant and seconded by Commissioner Quinn. At this point, let's go ahead and make a vote. All right, unanimous. You got me for another year, so thank you again. I appreciate your confidence in me leading the commission. Let's move on to 8B, which is nominating someone for the vice chair position. Opening the nomination on the floor. Well, I'd like to nominate Commissioner Evers for the vice chair position. Commissioner Evers, would you be willing to serve in that capacity?
Thank you. Yes, I'd be honored to.
And may I have a motion on the floor to support Commissioner Evers as vice chair?
I'll second.
All right, so we have a motion by Chair Ritter and a second by Commissioner Quinn for a vice chair position. Let's go ahead and vote. All right, congratulations, Vice Chair Evers. So thank you very much for volunteering, and I look forward to working with you in that capacity. Before we get started with the work plan, I just wanted to remind commissioners, if you haven't already, to fill out your Form 700 regarding conflict of interest. If you have not filled that out, let's make sure we get that done as soon as possible. Let's go ahead and move on to the commission work plan. Oh, I'm sorry, meeting dates. Thank you. I skipped it. So meeting dates. So these are our meeting dates for the upcoming year. And you'll see that in the months of, July and December, we are dark, meaning that the commission will not meet during those months. During the December meeting, we do participate in a holiday parade the first week or so that would be something that we would do. There it is, great. So July and December were dark. The other dates are just basically the third Tuesday of every month. So I'd like to place a motion to approve the meeting dates for the next commission term.
I'll second.
And we have a second from Commissioner Capiello, and we'll go ahead and vote on that. All right, that vote is also unanimous. So now we can move on to the work plan. We're just excited to get going there. All right, so Regarding the work plan, I've worked with Manager Nargard to try to move the work plan approval process along as quickly as possible. What we've done is, first of all, anything that's on this work plan is all in draft mode. So any of the comments, any of the actual work plan items are draft only. So we may or may not choose to do some of them. That's perfectly fine. You may also have other work plan items that you might wish to add. We can certainly discuss that as well. So it's just a draft at this point. Everything's up for being able to change. What I've done this year is I've separated the work plan into 3 major sections. The first section is admin, education, and community outreach, which is that blue bar across the top. And then further down on the second page, there is the special projects, and that's specifically just for parks and trails. So that's all of our work plan items for that. And then the third section would be for recreational services. I thought it might just help with the flow of things to kind of break them up into sections. We may find that City Council will come to us at some point during the course of the year and offer some additional things. And if that's the case, then we'll just maybe have a new section called City Council Directed, and that will just be at the tail end of our work plan. So what I've done is I've kept all of the ad hoc members that were associated with work plan items from this last year on here, just so that we have it as reference. So if you see yourself in there, don't feel like you have to be on it again by any means. However, I just thought that it would allow us to kind of help figure out what we want to do and see who's had some experience in the past, but completely up for shuffling things around.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to get a little bit more involved, and I find, and I want to make a suggestion, because I find the participation in these work plan items a little bit confusing. I wonder if we could just have 2 or 3 committees or subcommittees, and then assign those to the individual work plan item, and that way when those people that get together, they could go through the whole list of what they're assigned to. If that would be a little bit more streamlined for us to get this done a little bit more efficiently, is just a suggestion that would certainly increase my participation in these kind of activities. I don't know how the rest of the commission feels.
So just so that I understand your suggestion, which is interesting, so your thoughts are that perhaps there might be a particular group of 3 commissioners that would just deal with, let's say, admin, education, and community outreach. Another one might work on parks, and another one might just work on the recreation service
Right,
items.
Mr. Capiello would be on charge of pickleball.
Of course. All right.
And then they could just, meet once a month and then just address the litany of, maybe we'd make a little bit better progress or easier progress. You understand exactly what I'm talking about.
I do think that's an efficient way to maybe approach some of these. The only thing I would add that does put a wrinkle in it is some of these action plans require like really specific attendances, like the trails. They have their separate meetings that you go to. So I don't imagine that it's always going to be equal for every action plan that we have. That you're going to spend time to be able to go over other things while you're there. You're probably going to be focused on this specific thing you're working on. So I'm not sure that it's going to be totally more efficient. However, for those that maybe are, I can see how that would be. I mean, it's a bit of engineering, but there are definitely a handful of plans in here that overlap in some sense and might benefit from the same groups of people working on them.
Any other thoughts from the commission? Yeah, that's kind of a tough one. You know, when I look, like, personally for what I would be interested in participating in this year, I would say I kind of skip around in a lot of different categories. So I can see the potential efficiency. I would say we might be able to kind of move forward with what we're doing currently, and then as we are starting to assign, or as commissioners start to sign up for these various work plan items, that maybe we can kind of strategically start to think about, okay, well, these particular commissioners seem to have a common interest to these particular things, and maybe there might be some opportunities to kind of gel those work plan items together so that they can work together as a group. So I do find it to be a very interesting efficiency consideration. And I know what you mean with regards to, you know, it's like, well, I'm on an ad hoc with 2 commissioners here, and then I'm with one other one on a different one. And so, yeah, there's not a great opportunity to kind of meet once and be able to kind of deal with multiple things. So why don't we kind of put that in the back of our mind and kind of think about that strategically when we start to assign things, and then maybe we might be able to do exactly that. I would say also that in a follow-up to a discussion that we had earlier in previous meetings, the idea of having a lead for every commission work plan item, I think, was universally accepted as a great idea on moving forward. That particular lead would be responsible for that work plan item moving forward. They would be the ones that would be actively making sure that the ad hoc is getting together and driving the work plan forward. And then they would also be the first person to speak to that work plan item during each of the commission meetings. And then, of course, it would be open after they speak to any other person on the ad hoc or the commission at large to provide additional input or thoughts. I know Commissioner Kimball wasn't involved in that discussion earlier, but do you feel like that's a good thing to do?
I do. If you have someone whose name is at the top, there's the pressure to get progress going.
We do find, in speaking to other commissions as well, it's kind of a universal challenge that sometimes when we have 3 people assigned to a particular work plan item and not really knowing, should I do this now, or, you know, so I think it will really streamline things and move things forward and make it easier for everybody. I would also say that Manager Norgard has this as a Word document rather than a PDF this time. So if there are changes that we want to make to not only the ad hocs that are involved, but also the projected outcome language, we can certainly make some of those changes live during the commission meeting so that we can kind of see how things go. Depending upon how this work plan develops today, we can kind of see where we're at, how we're moving forward, and, you know, if we seem to be in agreement, there might be an opportunity where we actually even approve the work plan tonight. So we'll see how it goes. What I might recommend in the beginning is let's just go through the work plan. Let's take a look at the outcome language. Some of the outcome language is exactly what we had as projected outcome language in our first work plan. And when I say projected, I mean that's like the original language that we started with at the beginning of, you know, in March of 2024, without any type of actual outcomes. And then some new work plan items that you can that we can choose to have on or choose not to. So we'll see what the interest level is within the commission as to whether they would like to be involved in them. So the first couple of them are pretty standard, and I don't think they really need much change at all on the projected outcomes, but of course it's certainly open for discussion. Starting off with the first one regarding our annual tours. I know that we had 2 people that participated in that last year. And I would say, first of all, is there anyone that's interested in participating on this ad hoc this year?
I'd stay on this one. I'd note also that I believe staff does a lot of the heavy lifting in this particular work plan, in fairness to them. And I thought it was definitely something that I got a lot out of by participating.
Great.
So my question was, in terms of, and I think Commissioner Cappiello already addressed it, that it seems like staff actually does the heavy lifting with arranging the tours. So is the members involved a commitment to go on the tours or suggest areas that we would like to visit? I'd just like to understand what the scope of the committee responsibility is.
Yeah, I would say it would be, like this particular year, hopefully Scotts Valley playground equipment will get installed. So for instance, that might be a park that we might want to visit because of the brand-new playground equipment that gets installed. So it would be basically coordinating with staff and speaking about, okay, where is it that we might want to visit? This last year, we stopped at the property there on Quail Gardens that the community has expressed interest in making a park. And we actually were, as a group, we were there to see it physically, what it looked like. And we actually had some community members come and speak to us when we were there. So that would be an example that the committee and the commissioners were involved in and are making that arrangement with city staff. I would say there are some pretty basic ones that we normally always do, like for instance, going to Moonlight Beach, going to ECP. I mean, those are 2 of our major facilities. So I would say a lot of the all the commissioners other than you, Commissioner Kimball, have already kind of gone through that orientation. There may be some interest in seeing some of the other facilities that that the department has. And then maybe get you up to speed on those 2. But those would be recommendations, for instance, that the ad hoc would kind of work on together and then work with staff to come up with a plan. But yeah, it's a pretty light ad hoc. So other than Commissioner Cappiello, is there anyone else that would be interested in participating in that one?
I would be interested in that one.
All right, fantastic. So what I thought we would do is we'll establish leads once we kind of go through the whole thing, and that way we can see where everybody's at, and then you can kind of think about, okay, well, this is one I would mind taking on, and that way we kind of spread the lead position throughout the entire commission. The next one is speaking to your point earlier with regards to like all the commissioners involved. Yes, that's why it does say all on the very top. But there is a little subsection there for the holiday parade ad hoc, and basically those commissioners are going to be involved in basically what it says there, the paperwork and submitting the commission entry to the parade, developing a theme, working with staff, that type of thing. And it's really just something that it's at the end of the, November that you're really working on it. Again, a rather light one. In the past, we had Commissioners Cappiello, Quinn, and Cormorant. What are our interests this year?
I'll just add that the process of like entering into the holiday parade is filling out some forms and working with staff. It's not incredibly difficult either, but I ended up taking lead on that last year. I don't mind being on the committee again, but probably prefer not to take lead on it.
Okay. Anyone else interested in that particular one? All right, so we'll leave just Commissioner Cappiello on that particular one at this time.
I could stay on that one too.
Oh, you too? All right. You weren't deserted.
Mr. Chairman, I'll stay on it too. And just a quick comment on it. I'd like to see us step it up a little bit this year.
I agree.
Yeah, so.
Like what the senior commission did last year, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're following that?
They shamed us.
All right.
Volunteer from this commission?
We got you down already. All right, so we have a full ad hoc on that particular work plan item. And again, as we go through these, I don't think either one of those really need to have any wordsmithing done on the projected outcomes, but if you feel like any of the wording needs to be updated, please let me know. The next one is identifying guest speakers. One point that I would make on this one is all commissioners can certainly recommend guest speakers. So it's not just restricted to this ad hoc. And I know that I wasn't on it last year, but I did recommend a couple guest speakers that came and spoke. So, this is one that I feel is a great opportunity to kind of reach out into the community and get some participation to come into the commission and speak. And there are a lot of great speakers out there. So I would love to see our calendar fill up a bit with some of those organizations that could come speak to us that are relevant to what we do here. So again, I don't think we need to really do too much work on the projected outcomes, but of course we can look at that. Any commissioners like to sign up for it this year?
I'd like to be on that committee.
I can be on that one also.
And anyone else? We would have one open space.
I
All
could
right.
stay on.
And you'll stay on, okay. Great. Yeah, I think that's one that it's not too much work to do, but if you got 3 people kind of reaching out to the community, we might even have better luck to get some additional guest speakers to come in, so great. Okay, bylaws update. So where we're at on this is that the Parks and Recreation Cultural Arts Department is going to have a somewhat standard boilerplate bylaw for every commission. But what's going to change is the mission statement for each commission. So I would say that much of the work has already been kind of done on the hard part of what this boilerplate template's going to be for the bylaws. However, the work that would still need to be done is to kind of hash out exactly what we'd like to see as a mission statement. I would say that the Senior Citizen Commission and the Arts Commission, I know, have already done mission statements and have submitted their bylaws, so you might even take a look at theirs to kind of get a sense of how their mission statements are falling out. So with that understanding, who might be interested in participating in the bylaws? And I do think this is one that's going to end pretty quickly once we get the mission statement put together.
I'd like to stay on that commission, on that committee.
Fantastic, thank you. May I have one more?
Yeah, I'll stay on for continuity.
Okay, fantastic. Appreciate that. That particular one I'm taking myself off on to go ahead and work on other items. So looking at the projected outcome on that one, I have it currently written as develop a commission mission statement and update bylaws for the Parks and Recreation according to guidelines provided by the city clerk and submit them to review by city attorney and approved by city council. I think that pretty well states what we need. Any suggested edits? Okay. We'll move on to number 5, support the Encinitas project. The Encinitas project, again, is the name of, the rebranded name for patrons of Encinitas Parks. This is a project near and dear to my heart because I'm president of the Encinitas project at this point, and Commissioner Evers actually serves on the board as well. and Commissioner Hanson from last year and the 3 years before that also serves on the board. So it was through the Parks and Rec Commission having it on our work plan item that the nonprofit actually became revitalized and is where it is at this point. So I think it speaks a lot to the power that there are things that we can put on our work plan that can make a huge difference, and I really do feel like this nonprofit is going to do great things for the community. On this particular one, I would love to see, obviously, myself and Vice Chair Evers on, and we're certainly welcome any other commissioner that might like to serve on the ad hoc. I actually did a presentation to the Senior Citizen Commission today, a special presentation requesting that they consider adding the Encinitas project, supporting them with similar language to what you see in the project work outcomes. And I don't know what the decision was finally, because I ended up having to leave to get ready for this meeting, but I do know that the Arts Commission has had an earlier meeting this month, and they have added it to the work plan. So it's exciting to kind of see the commissions being excited about this organization. We are expanding it beyond just supporting parks and really focusing on the entire Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts Department by fundraising for arts, parks, and recreation. So anyone else want to join the ad hoc? Oh, thank you. So Commissioner Kimball. Thank you. Any recommendations for change on the work plan outcome copy for that work plan item? All right. Well, we're doing great. We're up to number 6. I know it's a little bit of a tedious process, but we're getting through it. This next one was a work plan item that I asked to be placed on last year regarding supporting the Harbor Seaside Parkway development in Cardiff. It basically is taking some land that is along the Cardiff Rail Trail, which is maintained by the Parks and Recreation Department, and basically making it into a really beautiful public space that would be much more fully realized by the Cardiff community. We did have a presentation last year from the Cardiff Foundation that is the lead on this. They are still going through the permitting process. They are near completion on getting their Cardiff Foundation website up so that they can start fundraising. I personally would like to still have this on a work plan item. It's not going to be something that is going to be an active thing that is going to be a lot of involvement, but I would like to continue to provide some publicity and then help with public outreach once they're ready and they have their website up to try to get some interest in supporting it, both in the city government side as well as in the community. Is there anyone else that might be interested in joining me on that particular ad hoc?
I would be interested in that one.
Okay, great. And I would have space for one more.
Yep, I'll stay on that.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for your support on that. And any changes to the projected outcome language? All right, so we'll go ahead and move on. So we're through the first section. We're moving on into parks and trails. Another one near and dear to me. The research and planning for outdoor adult fitness equipment. I'm excited. You know, this is something that I started when I first joined the commission when I was in a tenure of Commissioner Kimball. And I'm excited that we're at least kind of to the point where we're about to go to construction drawings. So it would be in conjunction with playground equipment that's happening at Orpheus and Glen Parks. Orpheus is in kind of central Encinitas, and Glen Park is in Cardiff. anyone interested in participating in that ad hoc with me? Probably not a whole lot to do. I would say from a vision moving forward, we don't have any, one, budget, or two, specific playground replacement that we are looking to do this coming year. So the one thing that I would like to pursue, and it's been a long pursuit, because we can't seem to ever get a hold of them, is Sandag is going to make an extension from Swami's to, what is that, D Street? So that extension, which is about 0.9 miles of the CRT, the Cardiff Rail Trail, is in design, and it's, from my understanding, been funded. But the question is what I'd like to see is to be able to put some type of athletic equipment in that design phase, so that when it comes to constructing it, that it would be all included in it. So I know Manager Norgard has made multiple attempts to try to reach that Sandag representative, and we may have to storm the offices or something, but I think that would be something, as an ad hoc, it would be something that I would be interested in pursuing this particular year, because that would be kind of the next viable option. So there's me. Anyone else?
I would like to go on that one.
All right, fantastic, thank you. All right, so the next one is always a big one, tennis courts and pickleball. And I think the idea on this one, regarding the project language, is commissioners will monitor and review tennis and pickleball court use to make recommendations on future usage. It's vague enough that I feel like we can talk about not only the outdoor courts, but it also would enable us to kind of talk about usage within the community center gym. My understanding in talking with staff is a lot of that has been kind of resolved. They have expanded hours, which perhaps Manager Hammer will go ahead and address during her presentation. So that particular issue seems to have calmed down a bit, but it's obviously a very important thing in our community, and I think it's definitely worthwhile to have on our work plan, and we'll just kind of consider the community center as well as the outdoor courts as being in the purview of that.
Can I make a suggestion to the language to include something to qualify, like after the monitor and review tennis and pickleball court use, and make recommendations on future usage as needed or requested? And the reason I think that's important is because the way it sounds right now makes it almost as if we're supposed to be making recommendations as part of, like, we can go through this whole year and maybe there's no recommendations being made if things are going fine. And I read it right now to kind of imply that there should be a recommendation made by the end of the year. And perhaps that's not going to happen. But perhaps it is.
Well, I can see your point. Manager Norgard, your thoughts?
I think as needed is good. I think as requested is good. Can also be a little slippery slope. There's probably an infinite number of requests that we receive on pickleball.
Yeah, maybe as needed is sufficient to cover. I want to be able to qualify that if through the year we've realized things are going okay, there is maybe a recommendation of changing nothing is a recommendation. So, yeah.
I think that's good.
Thank you for that suggestion. I think it was a good one. With that said, I'm sure that means that you'll also be participating on the ad hoc.
Huckleberry. Yeah, I'll stay for continuity, just having been as much involved as I was last year, to keep some continuity for this next year. I'll stay on.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, you did a lot of work on the last year's. We'd certainly love to see you continue on. Any others to participate on this particular ad hoc, which may or may not be quite active?
I'd like to stay on it.
Fantastic. And there is at one additional space if any commissioners would like to join. All right, so it's going to be the Capiello and Quinn team. Fantastic. And I noticed that Manager Norgard made that change to the work plan by adding the word as needed. The next one is pop-up parks at city events. This was another one that I got personally involved in, coming up with the idea of doing little pop-up parks to kind of get our commission out in front of the public. And it's been a great success, and particularly when we participate in Cyclovia. I would mention too that the Encinitas project actually bought a giant Connect 4 and a kind of an axe and ninja throwing type target game to add to the cornhole and the pickleball that we'll use for Cyclovia. So excited to add that to our pop-up park facilities. And I would be very interested in serving in that capacity again. Is there anyone else that would like to be involved in that ad hoc?
I'd like to continue to participate. It's a lot of
Okay.
fun.
I'd like to join the ad hoc.
Okay. And I
I'll
know-
be there regardless, so
Oh,
no
okay.
worries. No, go ahead. No, go ahead. No, because I'll attend the events anyway, so I think it's good to have her on there, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know Julie is always there at every one of them, so we always appreciate her involvement. And of course, we hope that all the commissioners will participate in our pop-up parks when they do come up or pop up. So, Kimball. So, what we've kind of learned so far with our current programming is that Cyclovia is a beautiful one to do it because we can put all the games out there. We can put up the pickleball court on 101. We've also found success with movie nights. So I know we have a couple of those again scheduled for this year. So those are basically the three events at this point that we're looking at doing. But if there's something that seems, if the ad hoc thinks that there's something else that might come along from a programming standpoint, we might also do another event. Any other suggested revisions to the work plan outcome language? Okay. We are getting through it. We're already up to 10. We're in the double digits now. So the Parks Master Plan, so in particular, we're talking about the Trails Master Plan, and I know that we had a very active ad hoc last year that met with the Encinitas Trails Coalition, which is a great partner with our department. The Outer Spatial app, of course, everyone knows, is the app that indicates all of our trails and other city information. So I would say, first of all, who might be interested in serving on the ad hoc?
We're a good team.
All right, you
We'd like
guys
to
are a
stay
great
on.
team. So there's two. Anyone else? Okay.
If the other, you don't want to do it next year.
No, I need to, I can't spread myself too thin.
He's the pickleball czar.
Yeah. It's, I did enjoy it though, last year.
Okay, fantastic. What about thoughts on the language? I think this was probably pretty much what we had last year. I know we've wanted to start to integrate the Encinitas Trails Coalition. We had them as a guest speaker last year, which was great. Any, particularly from the ad hoc, any suggestions on changes? Okay. All right, so number 11 was a city council directed work plan item that was done by the previous administration. I'm not quite sure how it's going to kind of shake out with regards to the incoming administration as to whether they have some of the same interests. But at this point, what I would recommend doing is at least putting the ad hoc on here to, since it was city council directed originally, I'd like us to kind of work through it. I also think it's a valuable piece of property. It is something that we really need to start thinking about what we want to do with it, what we want to name it. We're kind of in this 3.5-year period before the North County Transit District moves out after the double tracking through the lagoon to where we can actually access the property and make improvements to it. My understanding is we still don't have an agreement with them with regards to any type of mitigation factors. So I think that this could be a work plan item that might have wide visibility in the city. Anyone that might be interested in participating in this work plan item?
Yeah, I'd like to. I'll be on the committee for a couple more years, so.
Okay. And I think that's an important thing to note is that I would love to see some junior members participate as well from the standpoint that this is going to be an ongoing thing.
I'll join the ad hoc for that too. I'm more curious as to how much we're going to have to do on that this year, but I'm there for it.
I think the first effort that the ad hoc will probably do is really start to look at getting some community feedback on naming. There's some interest in naming it based upon the native tribes that used to use the land. So I would say getting some input from those native tribes and then also from the community at large, where we could invite them to the commission to present their ideas and to get some public feedback on naming. So I think that will be kind of the major emphasis this plan year. But we can also take a look a little bit at usage ideas and so forth as well. But I think that's probably one of the big items.
Is it filled? The ad hoc okay.
No. You wanted
I'd like to get on
Okay.
that. I have a great interest with the Payacuichum tribe and indigenous people, and I do have a contact from the tribe, a cultural manager, that maybe we could have her come as a guest speaker sometime.
Absolutely. Yeah.
throughout the year. Yeah.
Yeah. That would be awesome. Super. Thank you for signing up. All right, so number 12, regarding the pollinator garden at Pacific View Art Center, this was actually an item that was presented to the commission last month. I personally have interest in serving on this. I did also speak with Jennifer Bright, who's the interim executive director of the Nature Collective, and they have a similar type of program on pollinator gardens that they work with the Escondido school districts, and they have a whole arts program as well as kind of an educational science program, already built that they do with the Escondido school system around the pollinator gardens. So I think there might be an opportunity where we could get some great information from them, as well as working with the group that came forward and suggested this idea. So is there anyone that would like to join me on this particular work plan item?
I'm interested.
I would like to be on as well.
Okay.
I did a similar measure in Solana Beach when the mayor signed the Monarch Pledge, so.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Fantastic. All right, so that actually completes now our Parks and Trails section. The last three items are specifically recreation services. These are, all three of them are basically new work plan items for consideration. I worked with Manager Hammer to come up with some ideas that she felt that she could use some assistance with, and we kind of settled on these three particular things. So I'll open it up to the commission to see who might be interested in marketing the indoor rental spaces, which would include like the Encinitas Library and the Community and Senior Center.
I'll be on the marketing indoor rental spaces ad hoc.
I'd like to
Right.
explore that one too.
Okay.
Thanks.
And there's room for one more.
You can add me to that.
Okay. Who knew that indoor rental spaces could be so popular and exciting? All right, fantastic. All right, so the next one is the Venture Labs geocaching programming. And the thoughts here is that there would be some collaboration between staff and the Youth Commission to kind of add this feature to PRCA events. I feel a little old here, so I don't really understand the whole concept of it, but if there are any of you youngins on the commission that might be interested in participating with the Youth Commission to come up with this.
Would, can I just ask clarifying? Would this thread then kind of with the pop-up park concept too? So it'd be like at events and just another kind of an activity? Is that the thinking?
It could be something like that. Go ahead, Manager Hammer.
Manager Hamer, I just thought I could elaborate because they are already planning to feature this at Art Night on April 5th. So Adventure Lab is a phone app, and what they do is they build an adventure around an event that has, they have to go to a location, answer a question, there's clues, it's an interactive way to engage the community or the visitors a little bit more into the event itself. So I could see a role being that you work with the Youth Commission, to promote the idea and possibly be at the event. The goal is for everybody who finishes the full adventure, there'll be 5 locations, so sites throughout Art Night, that they get a token and they're going to get a raffle ticket and then they could win something. So promoting it, maybe
That's not digital?
It's
You can touch it?
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, so it would be supporting this effort that they're making. So it'd be like a pop-up park, but it's a pop-up adventure lab, and so a little bit different.
I also had a question about this one. I don't know what PRCA stands for.
Oh, I apologize. It's the name of the entire department, so Parks, Recreation, Cultural Arts.
And then is the geocaching actually doing geocaching events with participants like the Youth Commission? Or I used to place geocaches with my kids, probably illegally now given where we place them. But I don't quite understand what that is for this item.
Manager Hammer, you want to speak to the geocaching?
I was just going to say, if you put on your mic, we could hear you just a little bit better. I didn't clearly hear what you were saying, but geocaching and Adventure Lab are the same company. Geocaching is when there's a cache, like a physical item that people can explore and find, and there's actually caches all over Encinitas, that people play this game and set it up that we're not even aware of. Because there are a lot of caches already in Encinitas, we're doing the Adventure Lab because that's not a physical item. It's a question or interactive engagement. So there's not a physical item placed in there like a cache, but they're the same company.
Okay, I didn't realize that was a company name. Sorry, I didn't have the mic on my face, but I placed many caches when my children were younger throughout Encinitas, so I didn't understand if those were the kinds of events you were going to be doing again.
So you're one of the people who's placed the caches. So you're familiar with the activity. So if you have a geocaching event, it will log in, it will work for Adventure Labs as well. It's just a different app. And so it's very similar, but it's different in that you answer questions and you're engaged in different locations and answer questions.
All right, thank you.
And when we take a look at the naming of this ad hoc, should it be Adventure Lab / geocaching, or should it just be one or the other?
I think it's a good idea to keep both because we did set up an account and we might actually do some geocaching. That's very popular with families as well. That could be done at maybe the egg hunt. We haven't made a decision on it. Art night will be our first, testing of the waters of this kind of activity. And it is driven. It was the Youth Commission's idea, and they've brought it forward, and that's why we thought it could be a lot of fun to mix the activity with other commissions.
And when is so is the Youth Commission active at this point? Or do they become inactive during the summer? How does that work?
Yeah, yes, they're active during the school year.
Okay. So then the egg hunt would be something they would be able to help us with, but perhaps activities that are happening during the summer, they wouldn't be available.
Possibly, I know the youth commissioner who's the lead on it would probably volunteer to help, whether it's at the Moonlight Beach concerts or some of the different summer activities. If we continue to practice this, I know they would volunteer because they're very passionate about Adventure Labs.
Okay. There does seem to be some experience on the commission.
I am worried about overcommitting, but if there are two others, I'm willing to give it a shot.
Well, I'll join you because, I'm not that old of a dog. I'll learn this new trick.
Yeah, I'll show you my geocaches at the Encinitas Ranch Golf Course.
And there's a spot open, and I feel like there's some interest over here.
Okay, I'll join too.
Okay,
I've done it
I
with my
felt it.
son, too, so it's fun.
All right, great. Fantastic. All right, so we have one last one to go through, and that's promoting recreation services. So this one, basically, and maybe Manager Hammer, you might actually kind of go into this a little bit more in detail as to what you would love to see.
Well, in recreation services, I really meant the activity guide. So as you guys know, we have seasonal activity guides this spring, and summer camps one just came out. So I don't think I would just say recreation services. It would be arts. It would be all parks, recreation, and cultural arts services. Everything that's in that guide, from the trails to our special events to arts and recreation programs, it would really encapsulate the whole department. And when I say promoting it, it's like we print many guides and we have inventory, and you as residents and people who roam around town, if it's, where you get your hair done or things like that, there's, or doctor's office where there's a stack of magazines and materials, or have an activity guide with you and ask if you can leave it in the office. I mean, we want to make sure that our information is not just landed to people's homes, but also throughout the community for visitors or summertime or people who commute to work here. Not everybody lives here, but they do commute to work here. So just kind of being those ambassadors of getting out the word and promoting our centers. Yeah, so definitely Pacific View Arts Center and the Community Center, as well as all the different amenities and activities that our department offers.
And then in a sense of scale out of your print run, what number are you thinking that you would provide to the commission for this type of distribution?
Depending on the ad hoc and what sort of plans you had come up with, we could provide anything from 100 to 500. We do try to have staff do this. We have part-time staff, but we'll go to the school sites and try to leave the stack in the lobby. So we're doing that outreach ourselves, but again, we can't be everywhere. And since, you live here and you each have your own area and community and businesses that you frequent, even if it was just a few. So 100 would be ideal, but maybe more if you're reaching out to larger organizations.
Okay. Is there interest on the commission for doing this ad hoc? And if so, who might be interested?
I would just suggest that this seems like something under the auspices of ambassadors that we are as commissioners. If there are like opportunities to, here, grab a pile, go bring them some places that you know of, wouldn't see why we wouldn't all be able to participate in that. But if Manager Hamer's looking for something more specific planning to come up with some ideas, I don't know if that's redoing what staff's already doing, but I don't know. That's my thoughts. I feel like I'm on a lot of these ad hocs currently, but if in the sense that it's similar to the marketing of rental spaces, I would participate in an ad hoc. I just feel like it's something we probably all should be doing to promote what's going on with the Parks and Rec services.
That could be bundled as well. I mean, it's a good point, marketing and promoting, and that it falls under indoor rental spaces as part of the bigger picture. Absolutely, that could be bundled.
I think the other thing too is the rec guide comes out 4 times a year. Okay, so basically whenever it comes out, Manager Hammer can come to a commission meeting with her box of rec guides, and we'll all take 20 or whatever, and then we can all just kind of distribute it, and then perhaps there would be someone on the marketing indoor rental spaces ad hoc that would kind of coordinate with staff understanding where they're already distributing these, and then we can just kind of, I think that we have a pretty good representation throughout the city of Encinitas and our membership on the commission, that we can then just kind of make sure that we're not doubling up the same places. So I think it's going to be just basically a quick discussion that, we're already distributing them at the schools, or we're distributing, wherever, and then we'll just kind of pass them out as we go to places.
Another example that's listed there as well is like sharing it on your social media. So if you're following City of Encinitas social media platforms and you see, oh, here they're announcing the activity guide, you see that, you could forward that on your site to share with your friends, because you're commissioners, and hopefully your network's aware that you're a commissioner. Or also posting on LinkedIn. I know for myself personally, I post activities that the city's doing or that we're doing on the LinkedIn platform. So all of you have your own unique networks and contacts that you have. So just sharing that with us as a department really helps to amplify our efforts and, all that we put in to try to provide these services, because there'll still be some people who will say, I've never been to Pacific View, or we've had people say they've never been to the community center and it's been there for many, many years. So you can never stop sharing the message and making people feel included and like they belong and they're invited to join us for some of these fun and exciting activities.
So what I might recommend, and thank you for that clarification, is perhaps, because there's not a whole lot of work involved in this, that it would be one of these things where perhaps we would just kind of going after Commissioner Cormorant's idea of having some things that joint together and having people that are working on similar things doing that perhaps the ad hoc that serves on the marketing indoor rental spaces would also take care of the promoting, and maybe we'll just call it PRCA services, because like Manager Hammer said, it is one of those things where it's the entire department, and the activity guide really does speak to the breadth of the department. I did notice too that it looks like there's a little typo there in front of social media, so it would be distribute the activity guide and post on social media. Any other thoughts?
I think that's a good idea. I mean, I think you can combine both of the language for the action part and just call it like marketing and promoting of PRCA, and add to that action item that to marketing of the rental spaces specifically. And I'd be up for being on that. Yeah.
So are you suggesting merging the two, or just doing two separate ones?
No. Merging the two, meaning like just calling it like number 13, marketing and promotion of PRCA services.
And
then-
indoor rental
and then-
spaces.
And indoor rental spaces, and incorporating both the language as one action item from
Okay.
13 and 15. That would be my suggestion.
I like that idea. Any other comments from the commission?
Just a point of clarification, and then with that, is it that the expectation that it's the entire commission then that helps with the promotion, and it's through that subcommittee, or is it, or that committee, or it, kind of what's then the direction?
Understanding now what's going on here, yeah, I think if the ad hoc is going to work toward like, what ways can we make it easy for people to promote and market and provide some suggestions and then ask for the commission to participate, but I'm not suggesting that all the commissioners be on the ad hoc.
No, I think I was thinking the same thing. I think it would be helpful, like, just like timing wise, using the activity guide, for example. Our meeting may not align with that publication, and so maybe getting a ping or a message like, hey, the activity guide's coming out. I mean, we might see it in our home mail or see it somewhere, but knowing that it's available and we can swing by the city and maybe pick up a stack, like having that prompt also could be a helpful thing from that committee.
And the committee can also outreach to Manager Norgard, and he can send out a message to all commissioners just to let them know. And then we could have some guides up at the front desk at the Parks and Rec Department. Does anyone want to keep them as two separate work plan items, or are we okay with merging them?
We can see how it goes this way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I do kind of agree in the sense that we are just trying to market both the PRCA services and then separately the indoor rental spaces. So, yeah, that sounds great. So then if you take a look at it on the screen, I know Manager Norgard is already working on it. So he's changed number 13 to marketing parks, recreation, cultural arts services, and promoting indoor rental spaces. I think that sounds like a great title. And then regarding the new language, collaborate with staff to promote and market community center and library rental spaces beyond the city webpage, and collaborate with staff to promote, distribute the activity guide. Is it promote and distribute the activity guide, maybe? Post on social media or any other efforts to communicate recreational services available. Or maybe post on social media and any other communication avenues, or because really what we're trying, I guess the only thing that we're doing in that second sentence is really trying to promote the idea that the activity guide is out. Now's the time that you can sign up and register for classes. So is everyone happy with that verbiage? Okay. All right, so it sounds like the commission, and maybe just a show of nodding heads, we're happy with the work plan items that we have. We're happy with the language. We're happy with our ad hocs that have been developed. So maybe just a yes or no. Okay, great. So then at this point, what I'd like to do is just swing back and let's make a final look at the ad hocs. Let's confirm that everyone's comfortable being on the ones that they've been selected on or have chosen to participate on, and then let's assign a lead. Does that sound like a good plan forward? All right. We're almost there. We're going to lock this down. We'll be able to vote on it tonight, and we'll be done, so we won't have to revisit it next month. So starting off with number one, are we all comfortable with the, let's see, it's Commissioner Capiello and Commissioner Kimball, and Commissioner Evers should be removed, right? Vice Chair Evers, actually. Correct? Okay,
Correct.
so only two on that one, and maybe between the two of you, you want to select a lead on that one?
Do you have any preference, Commissioner Kimball?
I'm the newbie, so I would say you should be the lead.
That's no problem.
I don't have the contacts yet, so yeah, I don't know that it would, I think it would be easier if you were.
I'll do that.
And I would also, just in a contrast of thought, with this being kind of a easier ad hoc, in the sense that there's a little less involvement, I'd love to have you start with your leadership skills and maybe even consider taking it on. I think that it's one of those items that you could easily lead and not feel like you need to be trained on anything. And staff is going to help you.
Okay, you twisted my arm then?
You'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll
you'll do
Thank you.
great, and staff is there to help you every step of the way. So, all right, so fantastic. We have a lead for Commissioner Kimball. Moving on to number 2, I show that Capiello, Quinn, and Cormorant are the people involved, and who would like to be lead on that one?
I nominate Capello.
You're going to have to get a second on that. Well, the other thing that I would just say is I'd love to everyone on the commission to be in a lead on a work plan item, at least one. So with that in mind and thinking about what you've already signed up for, think about what it is that you might want to lead.
It's fine. I'll be lead on it again.
No, I'll take this one. I'll take it this year.
No. Okay, you got it.
Arm wrestle?
Yeah, I'm willing.
All right.
Our chair is very persuasive.
All right, so we have lead as Capiello. I'm sorry, Cormorant, sorry. You guys got me confused. All right, moving on to number 3. On guest speakers, we have Capiello, Cormorant, and Evers. And Vander Aurora is off of that one this year. So it should be, do I have that correct, or did I not have that correct?
It's truly still, oh, I'm sorry, yes.
It is, okay. Fantastic. All right, so who would like to be lead on the 3 that are listed?
I'll take the lead.
Okay. Vice Chair Evers. Going to number 4, the bylaws. We have Commissioners Quinn and Capiello.
I'll take the lead on that one.
Thank you.
I second that motion, being that you're a lawyer.
All right. Supporting the Encinitas. Oh,
One
sorry.
moment, I'm sorry.
Certainly.
You backed out of the bylaws because you did such a good job leading it.
I figure that I have enough responsibilities that I figured I'd leave it to you experts. All right. Moving on to number 5, the Encinitas project. We have Evers, Ritter, and Kimball. Considering that I'm president of the organization, I would propose being lead, if we're okay with that. Moving on to the Harbor Seaside Parkway, we have Cormorant, Ritter, and Vander Auer, and I have a pretty good relationship with the Cardiff Foundation, and I do live in Cardiff, so I would be fine leading that particular one, if that's all right with the ad hoc. See, Commissioner Quinn, I'm doing some work. Okay. All right. And proving more to my point, on number 7, on the adult outdoor fitness equipment, we have Ritter and Vander Auer, and I would be happy to lead that one as well. Okay. Moving on to 8, we know who the lead will be for that. So we
I'll
have
accept.
fantastic.
They can come yell at me out in the streets.
We'll
Come
be sure to
tennis,
post your
come
picture.
Pickleball.
We'll add
Come
your
smash
photo.
ball. Come paddle ball.
We'll add your photo to the activity guide. The pop-up parks. For the pop-up parks, we have Evers, Ritter, and Kimball. Anyone like to be the lead for that?
I'll take it.
Okay. Moving on to the trails, we have Kimball, Quinn, and Vander Aurora lead.
We're fighting over the lead here right now. But being that we're getting towards the end, I'll take the lead on that.
Great. And we really appreciate you reaching out to the Encinitas Trails Coalition, too. I know you've attended several meetings with them. Regarding number 11, the property there near Acosta Avenue, we have Cormorant, Capiello, and Quinn. Anyone interested in being the lead on
I
that?
can take the lead on that unless Mr. Quinn would like to.
Okay. Moving on to number 12, regarding the pollinator garden, we have Vander Aurora, Evers, and myself. Interest in lead?
I'll lead on that one. if you
Okay,
want.
great. It's nice that you have that experience from your work in Solana Beach. Number 13, regarding our new marketing efforts. We have Capiello, Quinn, and Vander Aurora. Who would like to be lead?
I'll do that one too.
Okay, fantastic. Adventure Labs geocaching programming. I do know that there's some experience on this commission.
I'll take it.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm a techie, so I guess.
All right, so we have Kimball, Ritter, and Evers, with Commissioner Kimball being the lead on that one. And that is it. Are we all happy with the work plan, the assignments?
I move to pass it.
And do I have a second? Okay, great. So let's vote on it. Good job, guys.
Who was the second on that?
It was Commissioner Cormorant. All right, so the work plan is approved. Fantastic. So at this point, it will go to City Council for them to review, and they may just approve it on consent, or they may actually pull it and add other items or make alterations based upon their interests. So good job. I know it's a bit of work to get through all that. We have a pretty aggressive work plan again this year, which is awesome that we have some important stuff to do. Let's go ahead and move on to item number 9, which is the informational item, starting with the Park Operations Report. Manager Norgard.
Thank you, Chair Ritter. A couple updates for you tonight. The first is we're going to be performing some maintenance on the Encinitas Community Park Skate Bowl. So this is the bowl that's kind of behind the main skate plaza. We have a contractor who will be replacing the coping on that bowl, as well as some of the tile that's just below the coping. This is a project that's been in the works for quite a while. We've hired a contractor that specializes in this work, and they did some of the work on the original construction of the bowl in the plaza. And we also have the original designer of the bowl in the plaza helping to review all the submittals and make sure all the work conforms so that we reopen with a great bowl. We're going to start that work on April 7th, and we plan to be closed for about 2 to 3 weeks. We're putting that on our website, pushing it out to the newsletter, and making sure that folks know. We have some signage up now, and we've actually talked to members of the skate community to let them know. So folks are pretty happy that this is going to happen. Over the years, we've had a bit of guerrilla improvements where folks go out there with epoxy and try and smooth out some of the joints between the coping, and it's pretty interesting to see how they do it because everyone has their own way that they like to have it done. So for at least a little while, we'll be back up and running and have some fresh coping out there for them. Additionally, for the Scott Valley Park Playground Replacement Project, I mentioned previously that we're going to have a community event to help create the mosaic that will go in the center of the seating space. We've scheduled that. It's going to happen on March 31st and April 1st. We're looking at setting that up from 10 to 2. We'll be looking for around 2 volunteers to work in 1-hour shifts in that time frame. We can accommodate a little bit more, so if folks want to bring their kids or anything like that, we can find jobs for them. Most of the work will be kind of on your hands and knees, bent over this scrim that we have, and placing coins and tiles on the template, which will then get used and taken out in the field and set in wet concrete and then screed over. So we're getting that also out on our newsletter and our website. And so if you or anyone that you know is interested in participating, please just let me know. We're going to have some signups through our volunteer software as well so that we can get that scheduled. And that concludes my report.
Regarding the signage at the bowl, are you doing it not only around the bowl itself, but also the skate park too?
That's correct.
Okay, great. Any other questions from the commission regarding the parks operations report? Let's go ahead and move on to the next item for recreational services. Manager Hammer, please.
Yes, the Encinitas activity guide was distributed to Encinitas residents throughout the community with registration opening on March 3rd, so that has launched. First day of registration, we received over $1 million in registrations, which was a 7% increase from 2024, and approximately 3,585 customers registered, and that was also a 7% increase. We saw the increase is also having Pacific View Art Center as an addition, but the recreation component was also about half of that. So a lot of growth, very positive for the department. We've also expanded our pickleball hours at the Encinitas Community Center and Senior Center gym. We've added a program, we do a lot of adult leagues, so we added a program called Afternoon Rally. It's a drop-in, but it's kind of like reserved court space. So people register for it. It guarantees them the court space so they don't have to have the waiting and lines. That was one of the complaints we heard. And at the same time, it secures that day for them. So it's Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays, 1:30 to 3 p.m. And they sign up, and then they don't have to wait in lines. We also added more open play, which is where the lines were happening, because that's just drop in and anybody can show up from wherever, whenever. We added a day on Saturday. We extended one of the hours on one of the days, and we now have open play pickleball 6 days a week. So we have found the people that we were working with, a lot of them that came to this meeting, are quite content and happy with how things are set up. We do anticipate, though, just to know that it's coming, when summer arrives, a lot of those hours are eliminated for summer camps, and that's just a priority. It's 6 weeks out of the year. Our regular pickleball players are aware of it because we do it every year, but some of the new ones that have kind of migrated from Bobby Riggs, it may be unsettling to them. So we will still be offering them later afternoon and evening pickleball hours, but it's just not going to be their preferred time. So that will be on the horizon. This Friday, Cultural Arts is hosting Music by the Sea. That's at the Encinitas Library. Friday, March 21st. Tickets are available online. And we're also working with the Parks team as well as the Fire Department and Public Works to install AEDs at our sports parks. That's going to be happening soon. Once they're installed, we'll make sure we notify you, but that will be at our main sports parks. And that's been a project we've been working on with our youth sports groups for quite a few months now. As I had already shared, the art night on Saturday, April 5th, we're going to be introducing Adventure Lab. So I will be tapping those ad hoc committee members very soon, probably in the next week, about collaborating with us on that. We're excited about that Youth Commission collaboration, and now with Parks and Recreation Commission collaborating as well. It should be very interactive, maybe introduce some new customers to art night that would maybe not normally go, and vice versa, art night people who would maybe never use Adventure Labs, and they're going to get a chance to do that. So we're mixing and mingle some of our potential customers. Some other things to save the date. Arbor Day is the same day, but in the morning, Saturday, April 5th. It's 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. at Cardiff Sports Park. In the past, that was a parks team that worked with Public Works, and now it's been kind of turned back just to our department. So it is Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Arts who's organizing that. So we'll want to have, I know you guys talked about pop-up parks, but that might be a nice spot to work with us as well to kind of host some of those games and different activities. Spring Egg Hunt, please save the date. We also appreciate your participation on Saturday, April 19th. That's 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Movie in the Park is going to be Saturday, May 3rd. That's 5 p.m. till dusk. And Cyclovia, Sunday, May 18th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I know you'll be engaged in all these different activities, so make sure you mark your calendar, you save the date, and we look forward to working together with you on all these different community events and activities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the commission on the Recreation Services report? I would say make sure that you do start putting some of those dates. April and May tend to be a pretty busy Parks and Recreation months for us as a commission because there's a lot of opportunities for us to serve in that ambassadorial duty to participate in so many different events. On the movies in the park, are both of them this year going to be at Cardiff Glen Park?
Yes, they are.
Okay, great. And then regarding the signage, when it comes time, and obviously we don't want to create a panic too early, but is there some thought with regards to providing signage, a certain amount of time right before the summer programming starts so that it doesn't become too much of a surprise for those using the community center? Regarding pickleball.
Pickleball. So for pickleball, we have a monthly calendar that we distribute. So starting in April, that will be listed on every one of the calendars. Be aware, hours will be changing, summer months. So we'll start that communication in the beginning. We're also going to change our open play. It used to be just that you just signed in and it was hard to track who was coming and where they were coming from. So starting in the summer months, we're going to have a registration requirement for open play participants. So we can also reach out to them by email and communicate with them in ways beyond just paper signs and calendars. But yes, we are starting that communication in the April calendar.
Fantastic. Yeah, that's exciting that we'll be starting to develop an email list. So I think that can help us quite a bit in a lot of different avenues. So super.
Yes.
I think that's all the questions that I had. So with that, let's go ahead and move on down the agenda. I know we're going to be pushing that 7:30 time limit. We're doing great. Number 10 on commission member initiated agenda items. I assume we don't have any. Any future items that a commission member would like to add? All right, so we'll round things up with commission reports or commissioner reports. If you'd like to start at the end and then just work your way towards me, that would be great. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair Ritter. I do want to say thanks for the real-time edits, Manager Norgaard. And I don't know if that was like your involvement too, but that was really helpful to get that rolling and done today. So that was great. And then welcome Commissioner Kimball, and also look forward to working with everyone on the ad hocs and our work plan.
Thank you. Commissioner Quinn.
Welcome, Commissioner Kimball. You're a great addition, and congratulations to the new administration, Vice Chair Evers, and our fearless leader.
Thank you. Commissioner Kimball.
Thank you for the warm welcome. I look forward to working with all of you, and I can see there's plenty to do.
You'll find that this is the fun commission. So this is the commission you really wanted to be on. Vice Chair Evers.
Thank you. Yes, and also just wanted to second or third that. Welcome, Commissioner, and looking forward to another year. It's going to be fun.
Concur with y'all, and thanks for everything.
Yeah, welcome, Commissioner Kimball. I wanted to share, I learned that the Pacific View Art Center is got a neat thing going on that besides the classes they're having there, I'm encouraged by the use of the space. There's going to be a weekly music show that's going to be broadcast out of there called Pacific View Sessions. And it's run by a gentleman that's been a member of our community and has promoted local musicians for years. And he was a DJ out of the community college in town here. And his radio show is called Not So Serious Radio. It goes by DJ Rob. So I'm encouraged that the Pacific View vision is expanding, and they're finding other uses for that space in addition to the classes that they're offering there. And that's going to be on Thursdays. And I think the first live performance that's going to be either live streamed and also like recorded and offered on YouTube will be every Thursday. And I think you can probably find, as soon as it gets up and going, you'll be able to find it on YouTube. And I hope that city continues to promote stuff like that. My understanding is that it will be like a live band will perform and be interviewed. It's like a 40-minute show. And I think he said something about they're going to offer like 10 seats for people who want to pay that goes towards the musicians. I don't know if that's been worked out yet, but he also did mention that they're in the process of trying to find advertisers, people who want to donate money to the cause that would go toward the musicians who are playing and to the program. And I also learned that the people who are running Pacific View, like the audio engineers, video, they're utilizing all the equipment that's been installed there to accomplish this. So that's pretty exciting too, to incorporate people who are already working at Pacific View to promote live music and local talent. So I'm happy to share that. Looking forward to this year.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate it when commissioners bring some of these community events to the commission to share individually during the commission roundtable. So thank you for that. I would, like all of our other commissioners, like to welcome Commissioner Kimball. I think she'll be a fantastic addition to our commission, and certainly look forward to working not only with her, but all of you again. Thank you again for your interest in having me be your leader. I look forward to another year of being chair, and look forward to also working with Vice Chair Evers and kind of sharing with her what the chair responsibilities are. And I think there's actually going to be a time that I know definitely I won't be here. So we're going to, we'll get you all up to speed in September. So you got a few months. So I think that, I think she'll be a great vice chair. So thank you for volunteering. I would just kind of reiterate is that April and May, we have a lot of great events that I would love to see as much participation in as possible from our commission. I appreciate staff already getting a name tag for Commissioner Kimball, and I know she's got a shirt coming soon. So I appreciate those efforts. Boy, is there anything else I can say for one more minute so we could end at 7:30? No, you're like, let's end this. Let's wrap this up. All right, so it is 7:29, and I adjourn the Parks and Rec Commission. Thank you.